Jails in Michigan are profiting off of inmates by banning them from seeing their families. That's what's being alleged right now in two lawsuits against two jails in St. Clair County and Genesee County. Right? And specifically, the plaintiffs say that both of these institutions banned family visits in order to make more money off of the resulting increase in phone calls and other electronic communication. And the two complaints stating that these bans were part of a quid pro quo kickback scheme for the for-profit company Securus Technologies, which charges inmates' families, quote, exorbitant rates to communicate with one another through services such as low-quality phone and video calls. And adding that county officials agreed to ban in-person visits in exchange for a substantial cut of Securus's future revenue. Genesee initially implemented its ban back in 2014, with the suit there arguing that the sheriff at the time enacted policies intended to drive up use of the paid video and phone calls and reduce access to the free on-site kiosks. But then, in 2018, the jail ended its contract with Securus and switched to Global Tel-Link Corporation, or GTL, and this at the direction of the then under-sheriff in order to get a deal that could make more money. And according to the lawsuit, the profit-driven intentions of the jail officials were clear here, with one unnamed jail captain explaining the switch by saying, GTL offers a set guaranteed commission that is more than the average monthly commission we're currently getting from Securus. And that agreement did prove to be very lucrative, earning the jail at least $240,000 in incentive payments each year based on its current policies. But this including from phone call revenues, technology grants, and a 20% cut of expensive video calls, which cost $10 for 25 minutes. But meanwhile, staying with Securus was insanely profitable for St. Clair County. And according to the lawsuit filed there, officials banned family visits back in 2017, which just so happened to be the same year that it set a contract with Securus that gives the jail, quote, kickbacks based on the number of video and phone calls purchased by jailed individuals and their families. And the impact was immediate. In the first year of the contract, the jail made more than $154,000, with those profits then nearly tripling the next year, skyrocketing to over $404,000. And in an email responding to those numbers, a jail administrator wrote, well, that is a nice increase in revenues. The county's accounting manager responding, heck yes it is. Keeps getting bigger every month too. And since then, St. Clair's gains have only continued to grow, reaching almost $500,000 in 2022, where those jails and corporations profited off of blocking inmates from seeing their families and then charging insanely high prices for people desperate to have any kind of contact with each other. With the lawsuits noting that both jails charge twice as much for calls as other inmates in the custody of the Michigan Department of Corrections, arguing that these high costs put families into an impossible situation of choosing between trying to maintain contact and paying for other necessities of life. With one plaintiff saying, I can just barely cover my own rent and food. We only do phone calls. We can't do the video calls because they're too expensive and just not even close to being the same as seeing each other in person. And another telling the New York Times she even had to take up a second job just so she and her 3-year-old could afford to communicate with her partner. So with this, the suits claim that these profit-driven family visitation bans violate Michigan's constitution, which notably, quote, enshrines family integrity and intimate association as fundamental rights. And beyond that, they argue that it also goes against a Michigan Department of Corrections policy on family separation that entitles inmates to family visits and, quote, harms individual and public safety without serving any compelling government interest. And noting that studies have consistently shown that in-person inmate visits have a ton of benefits, not only for the emotional and physical health of inmates and their children, but also for jail safety, staff retention, employment, and recidivism after release, and ultimately saving the government money. Now with this, as far as how the defendants have responded, both jails have not commented, while both GTL and Securus have denied the allegation. But while we wait to see how this progresses, experts have noted that this isn't limited to Michigan, in fact saying that it's a part of a growing trend all over the country. Right, in 2015, a nonprofit reported that 3 out of every 4 jails in the country banned in-person visits when they implemented video visitation. And that's only gotten worse since the pandemic. Now on the flip side of this, some places have stopped charging for phone calls, with this including New York City, which made phone calls for inmates free in 2018, which notably was a time where they were making $20,000 a day in phone fees. And since, Los Angeles and Massachusetts have also made jail phone calls free. But with all that said, I now want to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts with what we're seeing here? And especially, I'd love to know what you think if you have experience in this area.